Andy Sullivan, Blue Collar Corner. We're here at Congressman Pete King's office in Massapequa, and Pete, a lot has happened since last we spoke. And last time we were speaking about the Obama administration,
right,
and Nancy Pelosi actually going after the CIA because of the enhanced interrogations and whatnot.
Isn't that something?
And now here we are celebrating the death of bin Laden,
right.
And a lot of people are talking about it was those very tools that were implemented by the Bush and Cheney administration that helped bring us to the door.
Andy, I can tell you unequivocally that's true. It was those interrogations that gave us the initial evidence we needed to identify the couriers. It was done by the waterboarding of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and by the very enhanced interrogations of al-Libi at dark sites in Europe, black sites, all of the things that were condemned by the president during the campaign, all of the things that the New York Times and MSNBC and all the phony liberals out there get all excited about. The fact is, that's what led to the killing of bin Laden. I give the president credit for carrying out what he did. It was a tough decision to make. Give him credit. But at the same time, don't be carrying out criminal investigations of the CIA interrogators who gave us the intelligence that led to the killing of bin Laden. That to me is a disgrace.
You bring up a very good point. Very recently I spoke to Deborah Burlingame,
right,
who actually met the president very recently when he came down Ground Zero. And she asked that exact question. She said, Mr. President, we know legally you can't tell the Attorney General to stop an investigation, but you certainly could exert some influence and say, you know, Mr. Holder, can we just pull back on these CIA operatives who are heroes as far as I'm concerned?
Well, they're absolute heroes. And first of all, apparently the president was very cool to Deborah on this. He doesn't like to be challenged on this issue. The fact is, Deborah's 100% right. And you know, the CIA interrogators, obviously they're getting a bad deal. These are tough guys. They'll probably survive in the end. What's even worse is for the country, because now CIA operatives who are doing the interrogation, they have to be back away. It's human nature. If you see what's happening to the guys who are responsible for getting bin Laden, that they could ruin their careers, they could be criminally prosecuted, it has to throw a blanket over what guys are doing now. I know, for instance, as far as I know, virtually every CIA interrogator, if not every interrogator in the CIA, actually has personal liability insurance to protect themselves and to pay their legal fees when they're investigated and prosecuted by their own government.
Are you serious? I didn't know.
Oh yeah, that's true. Virtually every CIA interrogator and others, I've spoken to guys at headquarters in the CIA who have been advised to get liability insurance, not knowing where this could lead. You know, did they say something to some member of Congress who...
It's like a malpractice insurance for doctors, right?
It really is. And yet it's guys who are serving their country. This isn't involving personal corruption. It's not involving anything outside the job. It's what they're doing to save America. It's madness.
Right now, in the post-bin Laden war on terror, I spoke to Senator Greg Ball very recently.
Yeah.
You know, I was up in Albany, and he was very kind enough to sit down with me and speak about the whole, he did something that you did, pretty similar. You had the hearings about our weak points,
right,
you know, and he was talking about the big targets, Congressman, stuff like the bridges, the tunnels, the subways, and I approached him on something I consider just as dangerous, and that would be the stealth jihad that's kind of taken place within say our legal structure and our legislative bodies. Now, do you have any thoughts on that? Are you, do you have any red flags up in that aspect of the war on terror? Because a lot of politicians won't talk about that.
Yeah, my main concern has been the sleeper cells here in the country, the people in the country that Al-Qaeda is recruiting, who are under the radar screen, who are living here legally, who have no known connections to terrorism, and yet they're being recruited by Al-Qaeda, they're being trained overseas. Also we have lone wolves who are on the internet in contact with people such as Alaki in Yemen. That's really what I've been focused on.
Okay.
And I saw when I had my hearing back in March, the first hearings, we'll have more hearings coming up. There's one in June on prison radicalization, another one in July on Al-Shabaab, the Al-Qaeda affiliate, which is actually, there's more than 36 young men in Minneapolis have gone over to be trained, many taken away from their families, and virtually no one is saying anything about this. So that's really my concern, to see how the media reacts. They don't even want to acknowledge that there's a threat here in the country. And yet Al-Qaeda has made it clear they're going to be recruiting from within the country.
Okay, so pretty much you're more concerned about the hard targets. Like
That's what I've been focused on, yeah. And
okay,
again, the operatives that are here, the undercover operatives, the cells, and the sympathizers and fellow travelers.
Now, Congressman, but do you believe that there should be something set up for maybe the other aspect, the softer, gentle jihad aspect, sort of like the groups like CARE and ISNA? You know, a lot of these groups, they're
fine.
considered front groups,
Right.
unindicted, you know, that actually came out and were protected by Eric Holder after the Holy Land Foundation conviction.
No, I've been very involved in that. First of all, I think CARE is a disgrace. I have said that the Muslim community, to be taken seriously, and most Muslims are outstanding Americans, but if, as a community, they want to be taken seriously, they have to get rid of groups like CARE being their spokesman. You see time and again, CARE is quoted as the main spokesman for the Muslim American community. Yet, as you mentioned, they were unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation case. I know that career prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Texas, they wanted CARE to be indicted and prosecuted after the Holy Land Foundation case was ended, where they were unindicted co-conspirators, now indict them. And yet that was killed by somebody in the Justice Department. Eric Holder says he doesn't know anything about it. For a guy who was so involved in prosecuting or investigating CIA interrogators, you would think he would at least know what's happening with CARE and who killed that investigation. No, CARE should be investigated. Isn't it? These groups, to me, reflect a radical form of Islam, but CARE in particular, I mean, they've been colluding with terrorists. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The government has said so.
The money has been traced right back to Hamas.
Absolutely. So no, I think certainly we should be focused on CARE. Absolutely.
Okay. Now, a lot of people were asking, I actually did a website questionnaire for all the people that come to my site. And
Which is an awful lot, by the way.
all 12 of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, the big question is, now, we were reading about, you had a friend of yours who said it might be a good idea to see a king in the White House. So give me some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, what that was, Joe Mandello, who was the former national committeeman, former state chairman of the New York Republican Party, and now, actually for the last 28 years, the chairman of the Nassau County Republican Organization, which is the most powerful political organization in the country. I mean, there's thousands of workers, volunteers. He, at their Nassau County's big annual event last week, they have an annual reception, the biggest one they have all year, well over 1,000 people there. He announced that Nassau would support me as a favorite son for president, and he gave a variety of reasons. And I actually was at a dinner in the city with Mayor Bloomberg and Commissioner Kelly that night, so I started getting phone calls from people telling me what had been said. You know, what I've said is I'm still focused on running for re-election. I'm chairman of the Homeland Security Committee. I have a tough re-election next year. I'm focused on that. I'm not going to Iowa or New Hampshire, but having said that, Nassau organization, Joe Mandello, if they are putting my name there, if they want to advance it, and we'll see what happens. I'm not going to, listen, growing up in Sunnyside and 44th Street, if anyone ever said to me that I'd be asked if I'm going to be run for president of the United States, I wouldn't have believed it. I still have a hard time believing it. But then when you see some of the people that run, it's maybe not that unbelievable. No, I'm going to see what happens. I'm not going to pursue it, but I'm not going to get in the way.
Congressman, let's talk about the GOP field. Right now, we're looking at a very lackluster bunch, if you ask me, and you ask a lot of the conservatives out there. And I got to tell you, when you look out there, and I see you as a staunch conservative with great Reagan-like conservative values, and I think we sorely need that desperately in our country right now. And when I look at Romney or Pawlenty, and then we got the neutron Gingrich bomb that just went off, I mean, these are not people I could see, you know, defeating Obama. And I feel, I mean, a person like yourself, you're able to actually maintain your values and go to the other side of the aisle. Because I've seen you with Bloomberg, and I've seen you with Cuomo, and with these other fellows who are on the other side, and you manage to do very well on both ends. And I think that is an incredible plus, and that alone gives you the pedigree, I think, to maybe take on a giant step like this.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I think we're on the same page on this also, as far as the term blue collar. I've said for years, people say, what are you? I said, I'm a blue collar conservative, which to me is traditional. You know, I've always said that. That's a blue collar conservative. That's why, you know, your audience, that should really resonate. But this isn't something I'm just saying now. I've said it for years. And to me, a blue collar conservative is a person who has traditional patriotic values, traditional social values, who strongly supports the police, fire department, strong national defense, strong supporter of the military, not ideological on every issue involving spending. I mean, I'm conservative on spending, but not as locked in on that as I am on the traditional values of this country: a strong military, strong defense, strong local communities, strong against crime, really tough on law and order. And that, to me, is what a blue-collar conservative is. And you're right, I don't consider Democrats the enemy. I can work with them. I grew up in Sunnyside, which was a conservative, democratic neighborhood in those days.
It's exactly what you described.
Yeah, and so that's why I think there's a market out there. Market's the wrong term. There's a constituency out there that wants to hear that, who they can identify with someone who grew up in a neighborhood. My father was a cop. I was a union worker. I belonged to the Brotherhood of Railway and Steamship Clerks, worked my way through college. And to me, that's a real appreciation of American values, rather than just reading papers from a think tank or somehow telling people what I think my philosophy should be to them. I'm saying I'm living the same philosophy I lived my whole life.
You're not a focus group guy. You're not going to sit in a room with a bunch of focus group guys and say, what are we going to stand on this? You're just going to stick to your own.
And I think a lot of guys sitting in the room, a lot of women sitting in the room listening to me, hey, yeah, I grew up like that. Or, yeah, I share those values. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about for my kids. So we'll see.
Okay, that actually makes me feel quite good. I'm pretty excited about that. And I know a lot of my readers and a lot of my friends are going to be real happy to hear that.
We can't afford to be country club Republicans. We also can't afford to be judgmental Republicans. I mean, part of being a blue-collar conservative often means you come from a Catholic background, which means you believe in original sin, which means no one's perfect. So I'm never going to parade myself as being a perfect person. I don't expect anyone to be perfect. You try to be as perfect as you can, but we can be a little bit forgiving of day-to-day foibles. Never forgive somebody for being cruel. Never forgive somebody for being mean or being a liar. But, if you make a mistake along the way, it's not the end of the world to me.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing. It'd be kind of nice to see an Irishman back in the White House.
Oh, here you go.
Now, my parents were Irishmen. And when they came over here, there was one thing that they spoke about. And that was, this was the land where dreams come true.
Yep.
And, that was over 40 years ago. Do you think today that maybe we're losing that?
Yeah, we are, for several reasons. And we can't always blame the government or blame the politicians. A lot of it, I think, is on people who are expecting to be taken care of. What made your parents separate is they come over here, they didn't expect anything from anyone. All they wanted to do was just get out of the way, let them do what they wanted to do. Let them find whatever job they could, let them save their money any way they could, let them move into any neighborhood they wanted, just let them and do for their kids what they wanted to do. Today, too many people, even some conservatives, they expect they're going to be taken care of. And whether it involves Medicare, whether it involves health care, they're looking for some kind of constant protection from the government. Now listen, people who are really in need, the government should help them. But we should be going ahead assuming no one's going to take care of us. The government's not going to take care of us. That should be the attitude as we go forward. That's why when I see some of the newer immigrant groups, like the Asians, for instance, when they come in, they're not looking for help from anyone. You go to a Korean neighborhood, then they just go out and they work. And that is the way I remember the Irish immigrants being and the Italian immigrants being. I think we get soft in the second and third generation, and we lose some of that immigrant spirit that impel people to come here. Because let's face it, to leave your country and come over here when you barely know anyone, you're not a citizen, you come in, and that takes an awful lot of guts.
Absolutely.
So there's a certain spirit they have, which is what makes us different. But I'm concerned as we go second and third generation, we get away from that.
We lose the edge.
Yeah, we really do. And that's what makes us, otherwise, we might as well be Europe. And God knows we don't want to be Europe.
Don't want to be Europe. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Say you're going to run. What would you tell the people? If you were at a 15 or 20-second spot, what would you say to the American public right now? What kind of president would Pete King be?
Well, if I were going to run and if I were elected, I would be fighting hard for this country. America would be an exceptional nation. America would be number one. I would apologize to no one, and I would get government out of the way as much as possible, give everyone the opportunity that they need to succeed and to raise their families in a safe neighborhood.
Pete King for president. Blue Collar Corner out.